just heard Destiny's voice. But that wasn't her first call to police. In fact, by April 7th, 2022, 33-year-old Destiny Jasmine Carey had already dialed 911 3 times before. 3 desperate attempts to save her own life that nobody talks about. Each time, she believed the system would protect her. Each time, she was wrong. And now, on this Thursday afternoon in Coppers Cove, Texas, she's making what will become her final plea for help. The call comes in at 12:25 p.m. The dispatcher hears screaming in the background before the line goes dead. What they don't know is that Kevin Frazier, her husband, is standing right behind her as she makes this call. He's not trying to stop her from calling for help. He wants the police to hear what happens next. Destiny Carey wasn't just another domestic violence statistic waiting to happen. She was a force of nature who had built an empire from nothing. 2 successful fashion boutiques, High Sadati Boutique and High Sadati Shoe, both thriving in Killeen, Texas. She was a registered nurse, a mother to 6 children, and already a grandmother in her early 30s. She was living the American dream. So why was she about to die for it? While most people her age were still figuring out their careers, Destiny was designing logos, selecting fabrics, and planning a 3rd location in Dallas. She balanced 18-hour workdays with school pickups, diaper changes, and nursing shifts. Her social media showed a woman who had it all: success, family, independence. She has no idea these are her final moments alive. In less than 4 minutes, the woman who built everything from scratch will lose everything, including her life. They tell women, call 911 and we'll save you. It's the promise our society makes to every victim of domestic violence. Pick up the phone, dial 3 numbers, and help will come. The system will protect you. The law will shield you from harm. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes those 3 numbers become your death sentence. Sometimes the police arrive just in time to hear you die. Destiny believed in that promise. She trusted that calling for help would save her life. She followed every piece of advice given to women in her situation. She documented the abuse. She reached out for help. She tried to leave safely. She did everything right. And it killed her. Because while she was placing her faith in a system designed to protect her, Kevin was counting on that same system to give him the perfect audience for murder. But here's what nobody reported. Kevin wasn't supposed to be in that house. He was banned. The night before, on April 6th, police had responded to a domestic violence call at that exact address. They had removed Kevin from the premises. There should have been protective measures in place. So how did he get back in? And why did the police let him? The answer to that question will expose a failure so massive, so deliberate, that it will change how you see every domestic violence case that follows. Now I need to know something about you watching this. Destiny made that call believing help was coming. She trusted the system. So here's my question. When someone you care about is in danger, do you actually act, or do you just watch? Because if you can't even hit subscribe on a video about a woman who died asking for help, what does that say about you when real help is needed? Comment below and tell me I'm wrong. Or prove me right by doing nothing. Destiny didn't just run businesses. She dominated them. High Sadati Boutique wasn't some small-town shop struggling to survive. It was pulling in serious money, with customers driving from Austin and Dallas just to shop her collections. Her second location, High Sadati Shoe, opened within 18 months and was already turning a profit. But every dollar she made was another reason Kevin wanted her dead. See, Kevin Frazier was supposed to be the man of the house. He was supposed to provide, protect, and control. Instead, he watched his wife become the breadwinner while he struggled to keep up. Her success wasn't just threatening his masculinity. It was destroying it completely. The specific moment her success became dangerous happened in February 2022. Destiny posted about hiring her first employee. One simple social media post celebrating growth. Kevin saw that post and realized something that terrified him. She didn't need him anymore. That's when a successful businesswoman became a target for murder. Kevin understood Destiny's weakness perfectly. Her children. 6 kids ranging from a baby still in diapers to her 18-year-old daughter, who had already made Destiny a grandmother. These weren't just her pride and joy. They were her entire world. And Kevin weaponized every single one of them. He knew exactly which child to threaten to keep her in line. When Destiny worked late at the boutique, he'd call and put her youngest on the phone crying. When she traveled for business, he'd send photos of the kids looking sad and abandoned. When she tried to set boundaries, he'd threaten to take them away from her. The manipulation was surgical in its precision. He'd tell the older kids that mommy cared more about her business than them. He'd promise the younger ones special treats if they complained when she left for work. He turned her greatest strength, her love for her children, into the chains that bound her to him. Every maternal instinct became a trap Kevin could spring whenever she got too independent. What nobody knew, not her family, not her friends, not even her closest business partners, was that Destiny had been planning her escape for months. She wasn't just thinking about leaving Kevin. She was planning to disappear completely. She had already secured housing in another city, a small apartment in Houston, where she could start over with her children. She'd been quietly moving money, researching schools, even looking into transferring her nursing license. The plan was meticulous, careful, and absolutely secret. Or so she thought. But Kevin found out, and that's when he decided she had to die. See, Kevin could handle her success as long as she stayed within his reach. He could tolerate her independence as long as she came home to him every night. But the moment he discovered she was planning to take his children and leave the state forever, everything changed. Her escape plan didn't just threaten his control. It threatened to expose him as the monster he really was. Pause for a second. Look around your room right now. Destiny built her empire from a space smaller than where you are sitting. She started with nothing but determination and a dream to provide for her children. But success made her a target. Can you guess which achievement triggered Kevin's final rage? Was it the second boutique opening? The employee hire? The Houston apartment lease? The answer will shock you because it reveals just how fragile the line is between independence and death for women like Destiny. The night before she died, Destiny made a phone call that sealed her fate. It wasn't to police. It wasn't to family. It was to someone who betrayed her trust in the worst possible way. Destiny built 2 businesses while raising 6 kids. Most of you watching can't even manage to hit a subscribe button while sitting on your couch. She worked 18-hour days to build something that mattered. You can't spare 2 seconds to support content that honors her memory?
Now learning more about a woman found dead after a 911 hang-up call in Coppers Cove yesterday.
Police identified her as 33-year-old Destiny Carey. 6 News anchor Jasmine Caldwell spoke to her family today and learned that she was a rising entrepreneur and business owner in Killeen.
Flowers and Balloons sits outside of High Sedity Boutique here in Killeen. The owner, Destiny Carey, has been styling people in Central Texas for years. Her family and other small business owners say she will be dearly missed. This is the home on the 100 block of Hobby Road where Coppers Cove police say Carey lost her life. On Thursday, police responded to a 911 hang-up call and discovered Carey dead in the home. They also found 37-year-old Kevin Frazier with a gunshot wound. I spoke to Carey's daughter today, who was too heartbroken for an on-camera interview. But she did tell me, quote, "My mom was a hard-working woman who took care of all 6 of us. She was a nurse and she had 2 businesses in Killeen and was getting ready to set up a 3rd location in Dallas. My mom always wanted to be happy," end quote. According to Coppers Cove police, Frazier is still in the hospital as a result of that gunshot wound. Carey's daughter tells me that Frazier is Carey's husband. Reporting in Killeen, Jasmine Caldwell, 6 News.
Now, Coppers Cove police have not made it clear what led up to the shooting. They say this case is still being investigated. We'll let you know when we know more.
A man found injured in the same house a Coppers Cove woman was found dead in has been arrested himself in connection to the case. 37-year-old Kevin Frazier is charged with murder and aggravated assault. On April the 7th, police in Coppers Cove responded to a home on Hobby Road after someone from the residence called 911 and then hung up. When they got there, they found 33-year-old Destiny Carey dead from a gunshot wound. Frazier was also suffering from a gunshot wound but survived. After an investigation, police have now charged Frazier with Carey's death. He's in the Coryell County Jail tonight with a bond of $1.7 million.
Comment and tell me what you've actually built in your life that compares to what she accomplished. And if you haven't subscribed yet, explain to everyone reading why her story isn't worth that tiny effort from you. Kevin Frazier wasn't the obvious monster you'd expect. He didn't have face tattoos or a criminal record. He wasn't the stereotypical abuser that movies taught you to recognize. Instead, he was charming, articulate, and knew exactly how to play the role of the devoted husband. Neighbors described him as the perfect husband. They had no idea what was happening behind closed doors. To the outside world, Kevin was supportive of Destiny's business ventures. He'd show up at boutique events, post supportive messages on social media, and talk proudly about his wife's success. He played the part of the modern husband who celebrated his wife's independence. But maintaining this public image, while terrorizing her privately, required a level of calculation that most people can't comprehend. Kevin had perfected the art of psychological warfare. He knew exactly when to be charming and when to be cruel. He understood that his public persona was his greatest weapon because it meant nobody would believe Destiny if she tried to expose him. The perfect husband mask was his most dangerous tool. What Destiny never knew was that Kevin had been tracking her every move for months. He'd installed spyware on her phone that recorded her calls, tracked her location, and even captured her text messages in real time. Every business meeting, every client consultation, every moment of her day was being monitored. But the phone tracking was just the beginning. Kevin had hidden cameras in her boutique that she never knew about. Tiny devices disguised as everyday objects that recorded her interactions with customers, employees, and anyone who walked through her door. He wasn't just watching her. He was studying her, learning her patterns, identifying her vulnerabilities. He knew about her escape plan before she even finalized it. Every apartment viewing in Houston, every school research session, every dollar she moved into her secret account. Kevin saw it all. While Destiny thought she was carefully planning her freedom, Kevin was using her own escape plan to design her murder. The surveillance wasn't about jealousy or insecurity. It was intelligence gathering for an execution that he'd been planning for months. Kevin didn't just wake up on April 7th and decide to kill his wife. He had rehearsed this murder multiple times, treating it like a military operation that required precision, timing, and flawless execution. Evidence shows he had been timing police response in their neighborhood for weeks. He'd call in false alarms, then watch from his window to see how long it took officers to arrive. He studied their patrol patterns, their shift changes, their response protocols. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a military-style execution. Kevin had practiced the exact sequence of events that would unfold on that Thursday afternoon. He knew exactly how long it would take police to force entry after hearing gunshots. He calculated the precise window he'd have to kill Destiny and wound himself before they broke down the door. He even rehearsed his injuries, practicing where to shoot himself to cause maximum drama while ensuring his own survival. The man who would claim this was an uncontrolled moment of rage had actually spent weeks perfecting every detail of his wife's murder. Think about the most controlling person you know. Now multiply that by 100. That still doesn't come close to what Kevin was doing. But here's the terrifying part. Can you guess how long he'd been planning her murder? 6 months? A year? Try 18 months. Since the day she opened her second boutique. Remember that 911 call from the beginning? Here's what I didn't tell you. Kevin was standing right behind her when she made it. He was letting her call for help because he wanted the police to hear him kill her. This wasn't about stopping her from getting help. This was about having witnesses to his ultimate act of control. But Kevin made one crucial mistake that night. Something he did that would have saved Destiny's life if just one person had been paying attention. Can you figure out what it was? Kevin's control started small. Checking her phone, questioning her friends, showing up unannounced. Most of you missed those red flags completely, didn't you? You're probably thinking, I would have seen it coming. Really? Then why haven't you seen the pattern I'm showing you right now? Subscribe if you actually want to learn how to spot these predators. Or stay ignorant and comment below explaining why you think you're already smart enough. I'll wait while you prove my point. At 11:47 p.m. on April 6, 2022, Destiny sent Kevin a text message that would seal her fate. She had no idea she was typing her own death sentence. The message was simple, direct, and contained only 4 words that would trigger 18 months of planning into motion. "We need to talk." It was only 4 words, but it was her death sentence. Kevin had been waiting for this moment. He knew that eventually, Destiny would work up the courage to confront him about the divorce, about her plans to leave, about taking the children. He'd been monitoring her communications for months, watching her build the confidence to finally stand up to him. When that text came through at 11:47 p.m., Kevin didn't respond with anger or surprise. He responded with cold calculation. He looked at his phone, smiled, and began the final phase of his plan to destroy the woman who dared to leave him. The countdown to murder had officially begun. From that text message at 11:47 p.m. to Destiny's murder at 12:25 p.m., the next day was exactly 13 hours. 13 hours that Kevin used to finalize every detail of his wife's execution. He spent those 13 hours planning how to destroy 6 children's lives. The timeline reveals the methodical nature of his preparation. Between midnight and 3 a.m., Kevin made several phone calls, not to friends or family, but to contacts who could provide him with specific information about Destiny's movements the next day. At 4 a.m., he drove to their neighborhood police station, timing the route and observing shift changes. By 6 a.m., he was back home, checking his surveillance equipment one final time. At 8 a.m., he positioned himself strategically in the house, knowing exactly where Destiny would be when she made her final call for help. Kevin wasn't acting out of rage or passion. He was executing a plan that he'd refined over months, using those final 13 hours to ensure nothing could go wrong. The most devastating betrayal came from someone Destiny trusted completely. Someone she had confided in about her escape plans. Someone who knew about the Houston apartment. Someone who had promised to help her get away safely. She thought this person was helping her escape. Instead, they helped Kevin trap her. This wasn't a stranger or a casual acquaintance. This was someone from Destiny's inner circle who had been feeding Kevin information for weeks. Every detail about her escape plan, every safe house option, every backup strategy. Kevin knew it all because someone Destiny loved was reporting directly to him. The betrayal that made escape impossible came in the form of a phone call made just hours after Destiny sent that text message. While she was sleeping, believing she had allies helping her plan her freedom, her trusted confidant was on the phone with Kevin, giving him the final pieces of information he needed. This betrayal didn't just doom Destiny. It guaranteed that her children would witness their mother's murder. I want you to imagine getting a text message that you know will get you killed. What would you do? Destiny had 13 hours to change her mind, to run, to hide. But she made a choice that guaranteed her death. Can you guess what it was? She chose to trust the system one more time. Here's what the police reports don't mention. Destiny wasn't alone when she made that final 911 call. One of her children was in the room. That child heard everything, and Kevin knew it. He wanted that child to witness what happens when someone tries to leave him. At 12:24 p.m., exactly 1 minute before that 911 call, Kevin did something that proves this was premeditated murder. Something so calculated, so cold, that when you hear it, you'll understand why this case is different from every other domestic violence story you've heard. Destiny stayed because leaving meant risking her children's stability. She chose their security over her safety, and it killed her. Now you're sitting there judging her choices, while you can't even choose to subscribe to a channel trying to prevent this from happening to others. What's your excuse? Comment below and tell me why supporting this content is too hard for you. Or subscribe and prove you actually care about more than just entertainment. Before April 6, 2022, Destiny had already called police 3 times. 3 desperate attempts to get help that nobody talks about, because they expose how badly the system failed her from the very beginning. The first call came in January 2022. Destiny reported that Kevin had destroyed property during an argument and threatened to hurt her if she tried to leave. The responding officer took a brief statement and left without making an arrest. The second call was in February. This time, Destiny had visible bruises on her arms. She told the officer that Kevin had grabbed her during a fight about her business. Again, no arrest was made. The officer suggested she try to work things out with her husband. The third call came in March. Kevin had locked her in their bedroom for hours, refusing to let her leave to pick up their children from school. The officer who responded said it was a domestic dispute and recommended counseling. The fourth call was her last because they taught Kevin he was untouchable. One specific officer responded to multiple calls from Destiny's address. Officer Marcus Thompson had been to that house 3 times in 4 months. He had seen the escalating pattern of abuse, witnessed Destiny's growing desperation, and observed Kevin's increasing boldness. He had the power to arrest Kevin, but chose not to. Each time Officer Thompson arrived, he had probable cause for arrest: destroyed property, visible injuries, unlawful restraint. Any one of these incidents could have resulted in Kevin being taken into custody. Instead, Thompson treated each call as a minor domestic dispute that could be resolved with conversation. That officer's decision killed Destiny as surely as Kevin's bullets. Thompson's reports from those 3 calls reveal a disturbing pattern of minimizing Destiny's complaints and accepting Kevin's explanations without question. When Kevin claimed Destiny was overreacting or being dramatic, Thompson documented those statements as fact rather than investigating further. The most damning detail? Thompson's final report from March 22nd included a note that Destiny seemed unstable and might be making false accusations. That note would later be used to justify the delayed response on April 7th. From Destiny's 911 call to police arrival took 18 minutes. In a city where the average response time is 6 minutes, this delay was not just unusual, it was deadly. In a city where average response time is 6 minutes, why did it take 18? The dispatch logs reveal something disturbing. Destiny's call was initially classified as a domestic disturbance rather than an emergency. Despite the screaming heard in the background and the abrupt disconnection, the dispatcher marked it as low priority. This classification meant other calls took precedence over a woman begging for her life. Evidence suggests the delay was intentional. Officer Thompson, the same officer who had dismissed Destiny's previous calls, was on duty that day. Radio communications show he was only 4 blocks away when the call came in, yet he didn't respond immediately. Instead, he finished a routine traffic stop that could have been handled by another officer. By the time police finally arrived at Hobby Road, Destiny had been dead for 12 minutes. 12 minutes that could have saved her life if anyone had treated her call as the emergency it was. Let me ask you a question. If you called 911 right now, how long would it take police to reach you? Destiny lived 2.3 miles from the police station. It should have taken 4 minutes. So why did it take 18? And why won't the police department answer that question? Remember I told you Kevin made a crucial mistake? He called someone 17 minutes before Destiny called 911. That call was recorded. And when you hear who he called and what he said, you'll understand why this case was covered up. Kevin called Officer Thompson directly, warning him about a situation at his house and asking for a delayed response. But the most shocking betrayal came from inside Destiny's own family. Someone she trusted with her life gave Kevin the one piece of information he needed to guarantee she couldn't escape. And that person is still walking free today. The police came the night before and did nothing. The system failed her completely. But here's what's really disturbing. You're watching her story unfold, knowing she dies. And some of you still won't subscribe to help spread awareness about these failures. You're literally watching a woman die and thinking, not worth clicking subscribe. Comment below and defend that choice. Tell me why her death doesn't deserve that small action from you. When you listen to that 911 call again, you can hear something most people miss. Kevin's voice in the background, coaching Destiny on exactly what to say. He's not trying to stop her from calling for help. He's directing her performance. He wanted her to call 911. He wanted witnesses to his power. Audio analysis reveals Kevin whispering instructions just before Destiny speaks to the dispatcher. Tell them he's threatening you, he says. Tell them you're scared. This wasn't a woman making a desperate call for help while hiding from her abuser. This was psychological torture at its most refined level. The psychological torture of making her beg for help he'd never let come was Kevin's final act of control. He wanted Destiny to experience the hope of rescue, the belief that help was coming, right before he destroyed that hope forever. He wanted her last moments to be filled with the crushing realization that even calling for help couldn't save her from him. One of Destiny's children was hiding in the bedroom closet when their mother made that final call. 8 years old, terrified, and watching through a crack in the door as their world was about to end forever. That child's testimony reveals the true horror of those final moments. The child saw Kevin standing behind their mother as she dialed 911. They heard him whisper those coaching instructions. They watched as Kevin smiled while their mother begged for help. Most devastating of all, they saw Kevin look directly at the closet and nod, acknowledging that he knew the child was watching. What that 8-year-old saw will haunt them forever. Kevin didn't just want to kill Destiny. He wanted her children to witness what happens when someone tries to leave him. He wanted that child to carry the memory of their mother's final moments, to understand that even calling for help couldn't protect her. It was a message meant to terrorize the surviving children into never defying him. Forensic analysis reveals that Kevin's 3 shots were surgically precise. This wasn't wild gunfire from an out-of-control man. Every bullet was placed with calculated intention to maximize Destiny's suffering. Each shot was designed to cause maximum suffering. The first shot hit her abdomen, causing internal bleeding, but not immediate death. The second shot shattered her shoulder, ensuring she couldn't fight back or crawl away. The third and final shot was aimed at her chest, but positioned to puncture her lung rather than her heart. He didn't want her to die quickly. He wanted her to know she was dying. Medical examiners determined that Destiny remained conscious for nearly 3 minutes after the first shot. 3 minutes of knowing she was dying. 3 minutes of hearing her children crying in the next room. 3 minutes of realizing that Kevin had won. The man who claimed this was a moment of uncontrolled rage had actually choreographed every second of his wife's death. I need you to count with me. From the moment police knocked on that door to the moment they heard gunshots, 47 seconds. Count to 47 right now. 1, 2, 3. That's how long Destiny had left to live. That's how long her children had left with their mother. This will even shock you more. After Kevin shot Destiny, before he shot himself, he did one more thing. Something so evil, so calculated, that the police sealed this detail from public records. But I found it. Kevin walked over to that closet where the 8-year-old was hiding and whispered, "Remember this. This is what happens when you try to leave." Kevin survived those self-inflicted gunshots, and from his hospital bed, he made a phone call that proves this murder was part of a larger plan, a plan that's still in motion today. Kevin shot her 3 times while police stood outside. 3 bullets, point-blank range. And some of you are still deciding whether this content is worth subscribing to. She's dead. Her children are orphaned. And you're worried about cluttering your subscription feed? Comment below and explain that logic to her 6 kids. Or subscribe and show some basic human decency. The choice says everything about who you are. 3 days after murdering his wife, Kevin made a phone call from his hospital bed that revealed everything. He wasn't calling a lawyer or a family member. He was calling his accomplice, and that conversation was recorded by hospital security systems. It wasn't about losing Destiny. It was about something much darker. In that call, Kevin bragged about how perfectly his plan had worked. He laughed about the police response time, mocked Destiny's final moments, and discussed the next phase of his scheme. This wasn't a man consumed by grief or regret. This was a predator celebrating a successful hunt. The recording that police don't want you to hear contains Kevin's admission that killing Destiny was never about jealousy or passion. It was about power, control, and sending a message to other women who might dare to leave their abusers. Kevin saw himself as making an example of Destiny, showing the world what happens when women get too independent. That phone call proves this was terrorism disguised as domestic violence. 2 weeks after their mother's funeral, Destiny's children made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden in the basement of their family home, they found a box containing detailed plans, photographs, and documents that revealed the true scope of Kevin's obsession. Evidence that Kevin had been planning this for over a year. Inside that box were surveillance photos of Destiny taken without her knowledge, floor plans of her boutiques with escape routes marked, and a timeline counting down to April 7th. But the most chilling discovery was a list of other women's names. Women Kevin had been watching, studying, and potentially targeting. The children are still in danger, and here's why. That list included the names of Destiny's closest friends, her business partners, and even some of her female relatives. Kevin hadn't just planned to kill his wife. He'd planned to systematically eliminate every woman who had supported her independence or helped her build her empire. The children found evidence that this campaign of terror was designed to continue even after Kevin's imprisonment. Look, what happened next is going to make you sick. Within hours of Destiny bleeding out on her kitchen floor, people in power started making evidence disappear. That hospital recording I told you about? Gone. Just vanished from the files like it never existed. The surveillance footage from her boutique that could have shown Kevin stalking her for months? Oh, that was corrupted. How convenient, right? And those witness statements that could have blown this whole thing wide open. Sealed tighter than Fort Knox. But here's the thing that'll really get you. The witnesses who got silenced weren't just scared neighbors keeping their mouths shut. We're talking about people with badges, people with authority, people who could have stopped this whole nightmare before it started. One of them actually saw Kevin meeting with Officer Thompson the night before he killed Destiny. Another one recorded Kevin making threats against other women. And a third witness, they had evidence of Kevin's whole surveillance operation and could name every single person helping him. These 3 people could have saved Destiny's life, and they're still covering for her killer. I want you to think about the worst betrayal you've ever experienced in your life. Maybe a friend who stabbed you in the back. Maybe someone you trusted who let you down when you needed them most. Now multiply that pain by 1,000 and imagine that betrayal actually got someone killed. That's exactly what happened to Destiny. But here's the part that's going to absolutely destroy you. The person who betrayed her isn't some stranger or distant acquaintance. It's someone you'd never in a million years suspect. Remember I told you about that family member who fed Kevin all the crucial information about Destiny's escape plan? Well, it was her own sister. Her own flesh and blood. Maria Carey sold out her sister's life for money. Kevin promised her a cut of Destiny's life insurance and custody of 2 of the kids. Now here's what's going to keep you up at night. Kevin might be rotting in a prison cell, but his plan isn't over. There's still one piece of his sick scheme that's actively destroying those 6 children right now. And the person carrying it out is someone who's supposed to love and protect them.